granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. The law is often a blunt instrument, and I'd say that in the case of what's called trans women, the law is so blunt at the moment that it's starting to look more like a sledgehammer. And this is all because of the behaviour of a substantial group of mentally disturbed misogynists who have been exacting their revenge on women by dressing up as women, usually in a ridiculous and demeaning way. And then having done that, demanding the right to loom over women in areas where women would prefer to have some privacy. This has frequently been encouraged by organisations such as Stonewall, who are, I should think, 80% to blame for the situation that's happening now. Stonewall was originally set up to support homosexuals of either sex who were suffering discrimination and violence. However, since the barriers which impeded homosexuals have long ago been broken, that has rather reduced Stonewall's power and influence. And unfortunately, instead of winding itself up or turning itself into a less active, possibly part-time watchdog organisation, Stonewall has switched from agitating for gay rights to agitating for the rights of men to dress up and invade women-only areas, or even to molest children while pretending to be women, which is probably easier to do in female disguise because women are generally seen by society as less dangerous to minors. And so the real trans women, the men who've had themselves altered to resemble women and who live like women, have been caught up in this net, which has resulted in this very sad situation with the Women's Institute. And I feel compelled to speak up about it now. And I have to ask if some sort of halfway measure cannot be found to solve this, because it really is rather tragic. I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video. I know some of this is going to irritate a few people, but it has to be said, there is a point at which humanity has to take over from legality. The problem with our government right now is that they are following legality, and I'm not talking about this situation, I'm talking about the migrant situation, a whole lot of other situations. They're following legality and forgetting humanity. And at this point, I want to remember some humanity. Let's get back to it. I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe. YouTube drops subscriptions. Please check you still are subscribed and click the notification bell. That helps keep the subscription going. And if you want to help me financially, that's nice too. All the links for any means you can use to do that will be in the description. All right, let's get on with talking about this rather sad situation with the Women's Institute. So here's the article. I want to point something out. And here I'm going to use the word proper trans women, okay? And by a proper trans woman, I mean originally born a man and then changed, usually in adulthood, changed to resembling a woman, both in lifestyle and, more importantly, physically. So, and dressing normally. So they, generally speaking, pass as women. Slightly masculine women, but there are slightly masculine women as well. And you have to consider that a lot of proper trans women do not get married. They just like to live as women, and that's it. And they need friendship groups like anybody does. And the Women's Institute would probably be one of the places they'd think of going to find friends and colleagues. Do you see? That's why I think that's why I feel sorry for this situation. They've done the surgical stuff. They really have made their commitment. Now, certainly they shouldn't be participating in women's sports in any situation where they're likely to run off with the prizes, literally. But that's not what the Women's Institute is about. Anyway, here's the article. Charity to bar trans women as the wait for updated equality guidance from the government continues. They revealed on Wednesday, the umbrella organisation revealed on Wednesday, it can no longer legally offer formal membership to biological males from April next year in light of the Supreme Court judgment. And in general, the Supreme Court judgment is absolutely right. Because what's been happening is that men dressed sort of as women have been invading women's sports and have taken prizes that have been gained as the outcome, well, of cheating. And because a lot of women have very justifiably, I've been in that situation myself, found themselves, and more importantly, their children, their daughters, threatened by the presence of weirdly dressed males in female-only changing rooms and in my case, in public conveniences. So laws are being enacted now and throughout the Western world as they've slowly woken up to the situation to ban all biological men from all women's spaces and organisations. There's been a problem, for instance, here in the UK. I made a video or two about it with the Girl Guides. Some units have taken in boys who say they're girls. And then horrified parents have discovered that the safe female-only group that they thought it was, out on a camping trip, for instance, has had boys sleeping in the same tents as girls and using the same washing facilities. And even worse, those same parents found out about this through their children, because the group leaders didn't inform them. In fact, they were most adamant that they wouldn't inform them. And I absolutely agree with the outraged feelings of these parents and can't understand the deluded attitude of the Girl Guides organisation themselves. However, the Women's Institute is something else entirely. The last I heard, any WI meeting did not involve getting undressed. The Women's Institute has, it tends to do stuff like good works, doesn't it? Good works in the community, education, arts and crafts, maybe cookery, some political stuff, forming pressure groups to deal with obvious systemic injustices, that sort of thing. It's all here, not here. And I don't see why a proper trans woman cannot participate in that sort of thing. And you do know what I mean by a proper trans woman. But they've been caught up in this general net. Melissa Green, Chief Executive of the NFWI, the National Federation of Women's Institutes, said, "It's with the utmost regret and sadness that we must announce that from April 2026 we can no longer offer formal membership to transgender women." Look, the WI is a campaigning organisation. Of course they can offer maybe some sort of associate membership, which doesn't make any difference. But they are a campaigning organisation. Saying that, oh, sorry, we're completely helpless here. That's not the truth, really. We will bring forward programmes to continue to extend fellowship, sisterhood and support to transgender women. Well, I do hope they will. And again, I think this should be a matter for proper transgender women, not for men with all the tackle, dressed up as women, however feminine, however much they might use their hands and go, I think, instead of I know. That doesn't make them women in any way. I'm sorry. But if a transgender woman has done all the right things, I do not see why we should be talking about her biology or his biology when we're referring to something like the Women's Institute. Swimming competitions and wrestling and weightlifting, that's another matter. But the WI isn't about that, is it? So anyway, the WI is now buckling in the same way as like the Girl Guides buckled. I don't know what it is about organisations that they seem to have no backbone anymore. I'm really, as I said before, transgender women rarely get married. They live like lone spinsters and having some female friends, which is what they want. Well, the Women's Institute is one place they can do that. And I do think that some sort of solution should be found for this sort of situation. I really do. All right, well, yeah, you tell me what you think. Till next time, you can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.